Did you really debate Tree of Logic?
Yeah, I did earlier.
How did that go?
It was an experience.
Holy shit. Did she call you a beta bitch?
No, but I think so. We talked about it like right after we like got through like the hardcore stuff, and I think she thought that I was coming from bad faith.
Mm-hmm.
So she was coming from bad faith, if that makes any sense. Like at first, I think she honestly like thought that I just hated cops and wanted them all dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she was coming really hardcore, and I was like, no, like I don't believe that at all. Um, so yeah, so there we were talking about the UPS truck thingy. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know about that?
Is this the cops like that opened fire in a fucking city? Yeah, what about it?
In the middle of a highway, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we were talking about it, and at one point in time, she was like, "So you're excusing the criminal? Do you think it's the how do you call it? You think it's the cop's fault that this shooting happened? Do you think it's okay for the criminal said that they did?" And I was like, "No, that's not what I meant. Like, it's just that you could have de-escalated it, right? Like." The reason why the cops were shooting at the that the criminals were shooting at the highway was because they saw cops there and freaked out. Like, you didn't need to have 19 cars behind them when you had a GPS and a
Oh, okay.
helicopter,
Hold on.
right?
Are you ready for a tough question?
Go for it.
Do you think they should have let the guy drive off with a hostage?
Um, okay, so that has a very heavy implication, right? It means like, the implication can mean that there's just like no surveillance or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been possible to keep the GPS, to have the helicopter still on them, and
Mm-hmm.
then but make it seem like they got away with it,
Mm-hmm.
and set up like a barricade further up, or had like cops in like intersections where it seemed like likely that they might go to.
What if you have a barricade set up, the guy notices it as he's approaching it, and then the guy executes the hostage and then gets out of his vehicle and just starts killing people around him?
Okay, right. That sounds like a very extreme scenario, and
Well, you're
at
already
least
in a hostage situation with an armed perpetrator. Like, you're already in, like, arguably the most extreme scenario you can be in when you're dealing with, like, a criminal. Like, this is
well,
the
yeah.
most
The point
extreme.
is,
Yeah.
what the criminal doesn't want to give up their hostage though, because that's the only leverage they have in that
It's
scenario.
not like a Hollywood movie. Like, if they're fucked, like, they might just do whatever. Like they might not necessarily be thinking, like, of clear, sound mind, right?
That's definitely true, right? But at least like from what I know, unless if I'm like completely wrong and ignorant, there's still like somewhat, not 100%, but somewhat like predictable circumstances you work under,
Well, here,
right?
let's check that. Because I'm curious. You could be right. So let's see. How many hostage situations end successfully? I wonder if we could look up like data for this. Okay, 85 to 90% of hostage negotiations are resolved non-violently. So I guess it's possible that if he runs into a barricade, we can say that there's a good chance that the situation would be resolved. Sure.
Yeah, because I just, and there, like, I was trying to argue with her, um, which I think she, like, I must have not been clear, or she took it the wrong way. I don't know. Is that at one point in time I was like, she asked me, why the cops are wrong to defend themselves, but the store owner isn't.
Yeah, she does a
I
lot
was
of dumb shit like that.
I was trying to say like, oh, the store owner, like, what is it? Of course, like the store owner is gonna like self defend themselves, and it's not wrong for the cops to self defend themselves. But the point is that you want to de escalate as much as you can, to prevent innocent lives from being lost, right? So it's not necessarily wrong to defend yourself. It's just putting like a high tense situation, like having 19 cop cars behind, might not do like I guess like serve well for your end purpose.
Yeah, I think the scary thing is, I agree, but the scary thing is just like if he takes more hostages or something, those are people that could have been not hostage taken, which is scary. But I don't think you should ever open fire on civilians. I think that like people could execute you for that and be justified for it. I would be curious in her defense of that if she, because I know she's a gun rights advocate. Like if you have a firearm and you're sitting in traffic and there are armed gunmen that are shooting into civilian cars, whether they're wearing a police uniform or not, like I feel like you're fully justified in defending yourself there. If you feel like your family could come under fire, I feel like most
Yeah,
gun rights people would defend that. I would be shocked if they wouldn't.
That's also something else that like we kind of got into. I was saying that was like very irresponsible for the police to take cover behind civilian cars. Um, and then she was like, "Oh, but the civilians could just duck." And I was like, "Well,
Dumb.
doesn't it make sense to try to like, either escort them out, push them out of the way, or anything, then use them as like a middle ground between where the cops are shooting and where the gunmen are shooting at, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have an interesting analogy at one point in time. I was trying to say like if the only reason why the kind of gunmen or the not the robbers like were shooting in the because she brought up in the like jewelry store there was like a shootout as well, and I was like, okay, but the probability of them like trying to like shoot to kill or whatever when they were robbing the store would have been less if the gunman didn't have a gun, right? If the store owner didn't have a gun. Because obviously, when they see a gun, they're gonna be like,
Yeah,
"Holy shit! Now we have to
let's
like
check
shoot
that
because if
because I'm
not,
curious
I'm
about
gonna
it
get
anyway.
shot at."
So let's see.
But I think
Well,
like
yeah,
she took
let's
that
check
analogy
that.
the wrong way because she was like, "Well, you're blaming the gun owner now. You're blaming like the store owner for having a gun." And I was like, "No, I don't think it was wrong for him to have a gun. I just think that that was just a situation, right? And there could have been a possibility that they wouldn't have been shot at if they didn't see that gun over there.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that was wrong for him to have one."
Yeah, people seem to not understand the idea that if you take responsibility for a situation, that doesn't give you carte blanche to do anything you want. Like, you can be fully within your right to have a gun and still handle it irresponsibly. Like, if I offer you a ride home from work and then I drive and I get into a car accident and you get like fucking debilitated as a result, I can't be like, well, dude, like, are you saying I shouldn't offer you a ride home from work? What the fuck? Well, no. Like, you can do that, but once you do that, you have to assume some responsibilities behind that action. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or she was like trying to say, well, then aren't you like like what if we equated this to like rape or something? Are you saying it the rape victim's fault for wearing like a short skirt or whatever? And I was like, no, that's not what I meant. And I guess like the better analogy though, that I was able to get out would be like, technically speaking, if the girl stayed at home, the rape wouldn't have happened, maybe, right? But it would be freaking insane to say, oh, girls should never go out, or the girls shouldn't have gone out that night, or that the girls shouldn't have had fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, in those technical like scenarios, like yeah, technically maybe if they stayed home, nothing would have happened. It doesn't make it their fault that something happened.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you guys genuinely believe that these two Twitch streamers know how to handle the situation better than 20 to 30 police officers? Oh, that's right. I forgot this community is full of fucking retard communist ACAB cunts. So the ACAB community is dumb as fuck. But if you're police officers and you're shooting into a fucking like a whole fucking row of civilian cars, dude, if you were in like Texas or some shit, those people should get out of their cars and just fucking execute those cops on the spot. You can't fucking fire into fucking civilian cars with people with, I can't imagine if my kid got fucking killed by some dumb fuck cop because he's trying to fucking unload into a UPS van like he's some type of goddamn GTA 5 villain. Fuck that shit. That is fucking insane, dude. Who the fuck are you? What the fuck? I agree we assess the situation. Oh, sure. Okay, sorry. Yeah, like, here's the situation. One of the 4 golden rules owning a firearm is to be aware of what's beyond your target. You do not fire at a fucking perp when there are cars full of civilians behind that person. That is a horrible fucking thing to do. There would need to be an exceptional circumstance to justify that. Like, for instance, like if the guy like has a trigger to like a goddamn bomb or some crazy shit like that, or you think the guy's about to go off and do some crazy shit, sure. Like, I don't know. I just pay attention a little bit more. I think that he's like hardcore shelled himself out for Bernie Sanders, like past any point of having any amount of integrity when it comes to dealing with stuff.